builder for reducing the size of his plant. And his wonderful philanthropic wishes to give 21 acres for linear park to the land trust. The right thing for you to do is to deny this project. We've been going on and on with this for a very long time. Environmentally is what you're looking at the environment. And everything that they're talking about tonight makes it environmentally okay for them to build. What happens environmentally when the last bulldozer leaves and the last building is up? What is the impact that's left to the residents of Eastgate, Hillendale, and the rest of the area that surrounds that, Pat Mound Road? Are you thinking of that? Think of the cars that are coming with more exhaust going. Think of the ways that this piped water that comes from above that's going to be channeled into the right culverts. They're going to break, and who's going to take care of it? Environmentally, there is an increase of a population that's not needed in that area. Environmentally, the wildlife that lives there are going to be forced once again to move someplace, or else we're all living around the reservoir. And I live there and I see the increase of wildlife that has survived every other builder who has attempted since before 1975 to put a house on that property. It is not meant to be. It is not meant to be. And now that we are all in the world of greening of Connecticut, the decision lies in your hands whether to turn this property over to builders to degreen the area. There is not enough open space in the Sandbar. And here you are with the opportunity to show that you care about the residents in this area. And you care about open space. And you don't care about builders who come in, build, and get out. None of you live in that area, as far as I know. None of them either. But I know a lot of other people who do. We don't want it there. We don't. I don't know why we're still here. That they can lessen their plan and get the okay for that parcel only opens the door for them to down the road develop the other side. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or a real estate mogul or environmental scientist to figure that one out. I'm asking you to think about what it's like to be one of the residents who live in that area and are fighting for the sanctuary of their home, the sanctuary for the wildlife that live around them, for the sanctuary of clean air and water. My one question is, there was a mention about sewers. Where are they hooking them up to? Eastgate has no sewers. Hillendale does. I know, I paid for it. Where is their sewer hookup? What are they hooking it up into? Can someone tell me? Does it go to the high schools? There's a reason why we had sewers on Hillendale Road. It was to keep the reservoir clean, not for any other reason. I beg you to use your common sense and deny this project. Thank you.
Initially, my intent for attending these meetings was to protect the fragile wetland and watershed environment that I believe this application threatens. That involvement began on November 9th of 2003 with a letter to my neighbors from me advising them that something was afoot with the parcel. Since then, we've seen the application pulled many times, only to reappear virtually unchanged, so we would have to start all over again submitting our concerns. One of those reappearances happened during the recent commission member changeover. We have seen the applicant stonewall much of the requested information from both the commission and from the public. A pattern has emerged of the applicant delivering incomplete information to the commission at the last possible moment in order to minimize the time the commission and the public have had to research the submitted data. This applies to the information requested at the last meeting as well. We just got a lot of that stuff. We have heard that the applicant's attorney submit to the commission that the previous file must be heard or read in its entirety in order for it to be part of the record. This commission ruled that the members could not do so due to the volume of the material in that file. I submit to you that the volume of material in that file is the very reason why you should read it in its entirety. Therefore, I respectfully request that you can reconsider your decision and make the previous two files part of your consideration. Many of us against this application believe that regardless of the Commission's decision, we will be back here again, fighting to stop this parcel or another from overdevelopment. If not here, it will be in the courts. Make no mistake about our reasons for giving up our free time to fight this application. We do not oppose appropriate site development. What we oppose is the inappropriate development that endangers not only the wetlands, but the delicate balance of the natural surrounding environment. At the beginning of my address to you, I stated my original reasons for attending these meetings. Over the last, coming up on 4 years now, I have realized that inappropriate and overdevelopment is a huge problem in my hometown. Many of us who started out with only the intention of fighting for our neighborhood have realized that our Many of us who started out with only the intention of fighting for our neighborhood have realized that our involvement needs to be citywide. Developers do not care about our city. They only care about the dollars that they will make. One of the principals in this project at the beginning stated quite openly in the hall, I have been doing this in Greenwich for years. I always get my project through. Well, that may be true in Greenwich. In down county, but here in Danbury, we're going to fight you. On, here and there, everywhere. Cotswold will be the battle cry. Just as second place is now for every other inappropriate development, a developer tries to shove down our throats and conspires to sneak into our city. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I would like to say thank you to Al Robinson, HotCityBlog.com, who brought the video for us to show the viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you called citizens in action. When they don't like something, they march to City Hall and they demand actions. And I want to say thank you very much to these residents who took the time to address these issues. And thank you to Al Robinson, who gave us the tape, that clip, to show you guys so that we can see what our residents are actually doing. And I would like to say thank you very much to Mr. Heiser for hosting the show with Mrs. Gallo about the new voting machine.
Sure, I was happy to.
It was fun.
Interesting technology.
I couldn't have done that.
I still think we should go back to the Iraqi purple finger. I just think it would be,
Could you imagine ladies going to work, purple fingers, And,
yeah, well, at least it would be a badge of honor. Like at least we don't have insurgents gunning us down because we exercise our right to vote like they do in other parts of the country. So we can be happy for that.
Well, this part of the show is very interesting because we have Ken Gucker. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Running for the 2nd Ward. You were here last Thursday.
Yep, last Thursday.
Right, and we didn't let you talk that much.
Well, my wife might say that was a good thing.
Well, you know what? You have half an hour to talk all you want. But what we want to do is we want to talk about the Cotswold project.
Yep.
It seems to me that people in the 2nd Ward, they don't like the project, and I don't understand why. If they don't like it, why we are still talking about this project?
Well, it's not just the second ward that has a problem with it. It's also the first ward that has a problem with it as well, because the property does straddle the two wards. It is in between the Danbury High School and traverses all the way down to Padenham Road. It's a 78-acre parcel of very steep terrain, loaded with about 21 acres of wetlands, and there's some environmentally endangered streams on that property. The neighbors are up in arms because this site is just not suitable for development. Back in 1975, 74, there was a previous builder who tried to build there, and the buildings are basically, in the first major rain, washed off the side of the building. Off the side of the mountain, and the water runoff, etc., has just been tremendous there, hence why the buildings have failed in the past.
Quick question. The site is not suitable for development, right?
And in our opinion, yes, it's not suitable. It's the grades, the water runoff is just tremendous, what's there. And it would take... We'd wind up with something that looks just like Stetson Place, which is the battle cry of Danbury. When people want to talk about bad development, they go and say, Stetson Place, look at what happened there. Where it was previously thought to be unbuildable, yet they went in and they blasted and they built retaining walls and they re-engineered the whole site. But as many of us who live down on Padenham Road in the second ward know, it's a disaster. Anytime it rains, the end of the road is under 6-8 inches of water. Which, adding to ice in the wintertime,
You're trying to prevent that from happening?
Yes.
Now, let me ask you, see, this is the reason why I always say that you have to make sure who we elect to represent us, because it's obvious this mayor was a history teacher. So he knows his history. So to say that, don't you think that learning from history, he should have known that we should not use that site for development because of all the problems that we are anticipating?
Well, it was my understanding that the reason why, going back a little bit on the history of the site used to belong to, was trying to be developed by the name of Nick Adak. He was the one in 1974 in that area that subdivided the property, had approvals to put up 113 houses on that site. Built the first 10 or so up on the Eastgate side, which is in the first ward, and then pursuantly watched them wash down the hill. The project failed.
He built something on there?
Oh, yes, there was.
What was built on there?
From what I understand, because it was a little bit before my time of being in Danbury, they were called California ranches.
So he built ranch-style houses on this property. The rains came, and they washed down the side of the mountain.
The driveways, from what I understand, washed right down into the main road. Okay,
so the houses themselves weren't built, they were just starting the development?
No, the houses were up, they were wood-floored. From what I've heard from residents that live on Eastgate, they went for tours and looked inside.
So the houses were there, they're no longer there because they washed down the side of the hill?
All that is there at this particular time is a bunch of old foundations.
Wow. Okay. So why would a developer in their right mind want to go back to that site where you just can't build a house, from what you're saying?
Profit.
And what is it, why the mayor is allowing the developers to go over there and build?
Well, unfortunately, I have a belief that the mayor, unless a lot of things happen, unless it's downtown or a popular site, it really doesn't warrant the attention of City Hall. We asked the mayor back in 2005, April of 2005, my neighbors and myself had talked to him in the hallway after one of our many zoning issue battles that we were doing to look into purchasing the property, because at that time the property was owned by the bank, and the developer, which I might add has been at this for 4 years. This is their third attempt at trying to get this project through. Between the first and second attempts, they pulled out both first times, pulled out just before the ending, and between the first and second application, the project was a sale upon contingency of approval. In other words, if the project gets approved, then the builder would then purchase the property from the developer, from the bank. So at that particular time, it's our contention that when we'd asked the mayor in April 2005 to please look at this, he said he would, and here we go. The property was open for the market up until last September, which the developer finally purchased the property for the measly sum of $1.475 million.
For 73 acres.
For 73 acres. That equivocates to about $18,000 an acre.
Wow. And how many buildable lots do they figure they have on that?
Well, originally when Cotswold...
You said there was 23 acres of wetlands which you can't build on.
Yes. Well, we never say never. You're not supposed to build on them. Whether they attempt to build on them is another story. Originally, the applicant came in with 60 houses originally, then reduced it down to 57 houses, and then in this particular application, reduced it down to 29 houses, but he basically split the lot in half. So there's really not much of a deduction. People could say, well, we're going from 57 to 29. We're really not going 57 to 29. We cut the property in half. We're actually only reducing by about 8 to 10 houses from what they originally wanted.
Quick question. Are you winning this? Are you losing this? What's going to happen?
I feel we're winning. I mean, going back a little bit, the way this all started was, as my neighbor that you watched on the video there, her name is Terry Radichowski, we got tired, and we started door knocking and giving out flyers, and we actually have an organization, if you want to call it that, that gets together, and we go and we fight, and we kind of work together on this. So we basically have a grassroots campaign against overdevelopment in the city. And it's not just this project. This is the major project right now, which the final public hearing was last night, which you watched the video.
That was from last night.
Yep,
okay.
that was the video that you saw. And we fought many projects. We've been fighting projects in this city for the last 10, 15 years. We even fought against Stetson Place.
Now, you are not even an elected official. You have been fighting for years. I could just imagine what's going to happen once you are elected to the common council. But we have a call, okay?
Hang up and try your call again.
Call back, caller. That's it is amazing. Quick question: what do you want the city of Danbury to do to help the second ward, also the first ward?
Well, I'd like to see in these land use battles, I think a lot of some of the zoning loopholes that we have dealing with cluster development, dealing with affordable housing, they need to be reeled in, because they've become a loophole for the developer to come and take an undesirable project and overdevelop it. I mean, they do technically fit the zone that they're coming in on, but in reality, they're not really fair.
But isn't like the zoning board is mostly Democrats? Like the members?
No, they're actually Republican. The zoning boards are majority Republican, so is the Common Council.
The mayor's Republican, too.
The mayor's Republican as well. And this really shouldn't be an issue of Democrat-Republican. This should be right and wrong. But it doesn't seem to be that way. It seems to be, if it's not on the radar screen, it's not a popular thing, it just kind of goes by the wayside. I mean, have you seen the Danbury News-Times? Have you read anything about Cotswold development? This has been going on since 2004, 2003.
Well, guess what? I'm going to make a promise to you right here on the show that I promise you every week, if we have to talk about it for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, we will do that. We will inform the people, and we will make sure that... What is your organization again?
Well, we actually don't have an organization. It's just a group of citizens stepping up.
Now,
You really got to come up with a name.
We're working on it. We can actually...
Citizens Against Cotswold.
Well, we can even be
Stonewall, Cotswold, something like that.
Well, how
a
can
website.
people get in touch with you if they say, hey, we want to help?
Well, at this point, I guess we could probably talk to Al about getting some sort of website or even just contact me.
Or they can call the town, the Democratic Town Committee.
Yes, they could.
They can call the mayor and harass him too. And tell him to stop this project, right?
I'm sure he's going to. They can attempt. I mean, unfortunately, at this time, this is the first step in this project. This is the EIC part, which is environmental impact, where we talk about the environmental problems that this site incurs. If it does by chance get past the EIC, which we'll know in the next 35 days, then it will go to planning.
Okay. Caller, you're in the air. Hello? Caller, you're in the air. Oops. All right, call back.
A couple questions. You said this is their third application on this project?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the other 2 times they've been turned down?
No, the other 2 times, I guess they felt the heat and stepped out. The first time...
What's the name of the developer, by the way?
Well, that's what's funny. These developers come into town from out of state. They pick these cozy names. The developer is Cotswold LLC of Danbury, but if you look at the mailing address, it's White Plains, New York.
And do you know who the parent company is or anything like that?
No, we're looking into that.
Is there a way that we can form a protest in front of City Hall to really address this issue?
I don't know if a protest would do much as far as this particular issue, but I think we should get on these overdevelopment
But how can we put pressure? I mean, you said the pressure worked before. What do we need to do now?
You need to... Well, if you noticed, when the mayor was on this very show many months ago, he did bring up the Cotswold development.
Okay.
And that was because we had all of our neighbors, which we're talking 2 wards basically, discussing, sending emails to City Hall, to the Planning Department, to the EIC Department about this issue, and then CCing the mayor. So the mayor wound up with, lots of emails showing up on his desk about this.
Okay, well, we're going to switch topic here because we're going to talk about something very important, the bridges, the collapse of the bridges, because obviously in Danbury we have bridges that are not suitable for traffic at all. And I understand that you have been fighting for one particular bridge for years. Could you please talk about that issue?
Well, on the road that I live on, which is Padenham Road, there are 2 bridges on that road. There's one about, I say, 2,000 feet inward, and then there's one on the other side. There's actually a reservoir up in there. There's one on the other side. And what has happened over the years is these bridges have become so degraded that the city has put weight restrictions on the bridges. The problem being with the weight restrictions, A, they're never enforced. Anything and everything goes through it. They're weight restricted at 3 tons, which if you own a Ford F-350 and it's fully loaded, you're at the max that this bridge holds. But yet we have, city trucks that cross over, triaxles crossing over, delivery trucks, garbage trucks, etc. But the bigger problem, which is one of my main pet peeves, is that in between these 2 bridges is a major housing development, and in that housing development, the fire trucks can't get to those houses.
Okay, we're about to show footage of the bridge you were talking about, because me, you, and Al Robinson, we went, and here's the bridge right here. While he's showing it, could you please explain exactly what's going on here?
Well, if you look at the bridge, there was just a picture of the weight limit sign. That was how the city has dealt with the weight issue. There is an incomplete guardrail that for the last year and a half that has no blunted end, so that if one were to veer slightly off the road, they would impale their vehicle. These cracks actually are showing curbing. This is the newest fix to the area. These cracks here going across the road is the actual bridge, and the bridge is actually dropping and settling, and the little stormwater runoff sediment that was just shown to the left there, that's where the water used to come down the road and then pour off the corner. This is the bridge, and this is the repair made by the city.
This piece of plywood?
That piece of pressure treated, along with all the mortaring work. I think they probably built that to keep the walls from pushing in on each other, because I can't see any lateral support there. If you look just in the foreground of it, up in its same area, there's a steel beam there.
Now, this is me right there. Now, this is what they mounted together to hold this bridge. And it's actually shaking. I can shake the thing.
Oh, yeah, it's in there very loosely.
And they expect that to hold the bridge?
Well, I don't know if they expected to hold it. I don't know if it's just to put horizontal pressure or vertical pressure.
That piece of wood on the right-hand side is something that just what is
a wedge?
What's a wedge to keep it from falling down, I would guess. And that's the steel beam that's rotted away that holds up the edge of the bridge that you're moving up and down there.
And it's like, look at that steel.
It's totally gone. That's years of salt and such coming over the edge.
Now,
this is the mortar job that was done by the contractor from the city to repair temporarily the bridge after my letter, coincidentally, to the mayor.
now of this, see,
That's
falling apart.
Yep, that's a mesh that's holding up the concrete from underneath. You know, this bridge has to be over 100 years old. There's wood ties under there. There's some steel sister to the sides of a lot of the wood ties. This is a guardrail that was bent back into place after one of the many accidents that happened here.
It's not even attached to.
No, they didn't feel, I guess, it was necessary. They dragged it out of the way with a backhoe long enough to be able to put in that riprap and get in there with a backhoe to excavate the stream.
Same bridge after raining for the...
This is amazing. And
There's sound on here.
now this is another thing. When it rains,
In which now the water...
Well, as it's raining, if you notice, since they've done repairs to the bridge,
way out
this water
there.
sheets
We're
down.
supposed to go down that area right there, but it doesn't. As you can see, what it does
And
is it follows the,
in the winter,
the
these
curbing
sheeting rain,
now.
if you notice, it's running right
Comes
down the
down
left
here
side. They've relocated
and
where it
washes
used to
out
drain. Now it's just going to undermine the
the
side
area
of the road, and
where
slowly
they
filter
dumped
itself
the
into
rock
wetland
to the area that they fixed.
off to the left of the bridge.
And now
You can see the stream right
it
there.
has created
You notice how much water.
this
also has to
atrocity.
be possible.
It is now eroding
These are the areas
along this stream bank, filling in
now,
this
this is
area
also where
here,
they want to develop.
and also going through this
Yes, this is the lower portion. This
the,
portion of property
woods
actually
over here.
is owned by the city. We own a couple lots there. That riprap basin that was put
No
up there,
water.
when the city engineer
None.
came out and looked at the area,
is going into this
he
trench.
was talking about fixing
They
the
took 2
area.
days
I told him you would need
and
to
a
do
lot of
something
taxpayer money to create this trench. And as you can see, no water is going into this trench. It is running down the hillside into nothing here. Certainly never making it into the stream bank, but it certainly is running down the hill along the curbing, directed down the hill, and now running over into the other area. It's about height. In the wintertime, what's going to happen is this bridge is going to freeze over like a glass, worse than it's ever frozen before, and there are going to be cars in my yard and cars off the side of the road. And I think it'll be the city's fault. So, Mr. Mayor, this is what happens when people start digging areas where there's a lot of water and not talking to the people who live there and not paying attention to what the people who live there have to say about the small changes that can make big, big impact.
We're trying to build a development right across the street from it.
right up the hill from this. In fact, what my contention is that after this development goes in, there will actually be more water added to that stream that you see now. So if you saw that in a 20-minute rainfall, when you were there today, how little water was there, and then 20-minute rainstorm, we're almost up to flood stages. Imagine clear cutting 50 or so acres.
Now, you told me you pulled somebody out of that creek before?
Oh, yes. And in fact, that's what brought the attention of the bridge a year and a half ago. This area, let me give you a little history on this area. This area, we average about 5-6 accidents every winter on that particular stretch of road. We've had some very serious to where telephone poles have been removed. My neighbors had 2 cars totaled in their driveway due to this situation. We've had people wind up inside the stream. But a year and a half ago, a young individual coming down the road hit the black ice that is a result of the sheeting water that you see. The guardrails weren't even on the bridge. They had been missing for 6 or so months. He spun around and wound up upside down in that stream, and the vehicle was submerged underwater.
And you had to go and save that young man.
At 1 o'clock in the morning, after hearing the crash, I showed up, wondering what the noise was, got out of my truck, fell because of the ice, called 911, and then climbed in the stream and attempted to rescue him.
At 1 o'clock in the morning, cold, icy, you left your house, left your family, risked your life to save a young man when the city could have fixed this problem a long time ago. And that problem still exists.
Yes.
That is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. And they want to build a project up there?
Yep.
Did the young man survive?
Luckily, to the happiness of myself and the police officers on the scene, the young man had gotten out of the vehicle just before I had gotten there.
You know, okay, real quick. I want the resident of Danbury to really understand the severity of this. Now, from what I understand, if there's a fire up there, the fire trucks can't even go through there.
Nope, they're not allowed. And I verified that with the New Street Fire Department.
Okay, listen, Ken, we have 2 minutes. I know you're running for Ward 2. You have been an advocate for your ward for a long time, and now you want to really have a major, have a major impact on what's going on in the city. Is there anything that you would like to tell the resident of Danbury, especially Ward 2?
Well, I would like to say that we need you to come out and vote. We need you to come get involved in these projects, take part in your city. I mean, I'm running because my neighbors have asked me to run. I mean, I have no glorious expectations of, political career of any type.
Now who is the incumbent for Ward 2? Where is it a he or she? I mean, who is this person?
Well, there's actually two, and I'm probably going to mess up this name. It's Jimmy Johnson is one, and he is in the, he has to actually do, I believe, he's fire inspector or something of that, which I feel he should know about the bridges. And I'm not sure the other guy's name.
Okay, well, all right. Well, here it is. These are the people you elect to represent you, and look what's happening. It's going to take someone to die before. And you know what, though? Thousands of dollars, okay, have spent on senseless stuff. But here you have something that is, very useful to Ward 2, and dilapidating, and no one is doing nothing about it. Thank you very much, Ken.
Thank you.
And I wish you luck.
Nice
Please come back. Now, Mr. Heiser, we got to figure something out because
yes, the cover of the
Tuccio,
Ridgefield
check
Press.
it out.
I don't know if we can get a close-up of this. Maybe we're off the air. But if we
go
aren't, basically it says, Tuccio, no. Mr. Tuccio needed to get signatures from 73 fellow Ridgefield residents to be a candidate, and he did not.
He couldn't even find 73.
I don't know. I don't know if he couldn't find 73.
Pitiful.
I'm not saying
All right.
I'm saying.
See you next week. I promise you. It will be an interesting
show. But we still
show.
want Mr. Tuccio to come in to answer some of these questions. He's an interesting guy. I think it'll be an interesting show.
Well, thank you very much. We'll see what happens to the new voting machine.